Hello everybody, let's talk about changing markets. What are changing markets and how do they react? One of the more interesting discussions is how best to market a product. How can you find a market and what type of product should be marketed are only some of the questions to ask. So let's first talk about how to find a market. So you search for commonalities. If you're looking to sell a car, you want to find a car that people would want to buy. You want to find a car where there's not enough cars in the market. You also want to find a car that meets the needs of the people that you're trying to sell to. For instance, more cars are sold in certain parts of the country and trucks are sold in other parts. So you have to find out what type of cars sell in what type of market. That's what we mean by finding a market. In the country areas, trucks are sold in much greater quantities. In cities, they often don't have bigger cars because it's harder to park. They have smaller cars. In more wealthy communities, they look at certain types of cars, status symbols. That's how you find a market. The second way you develop a product and then market that product is to create a market. You give people something that they need. You also try to give them something that they want. You create something that doesn't exist. There's many examples of that. The Cabbage Patch. Many people had dolls, but they found that they really needed the Cabbage Patch. Pet Rocks is another one. Who would have thought that Pet Rocks could offer the person who created it millions of dollars? But it did. So you create a market. Shampoo is something I was thinking about a couple days ago. I read an article on some innovative shampoo producers who create niche markets and charge quite a bit for it. The shampoo may not be much better than others, but people think it is, or it has a status symbol. Another in vogue product today is beer, alcoholic beverage of beer. We see that at least for some of the large manufacturers like Coors and Budweiser, the market for their products is shrinking. That's only because what we're seeing instead is that niche beers are becoming much more popular. Beers that sell for anywhere from $10 to $20 a bottle. It can be as much as 25 to 30 ounces. These are sold in fewer categories, are fewer markets, and they're more expensive. It fits the need for many people. There was one in the Northern California area that sold for about $1 billion. It was bought by Budweiser, and it's a niche market. Another thing that's happening with beers is you have wine tasting where you go to a winery and taste different varietals of wine. Same thing's happening with beer. There are companies that are producing beer, and that's a tasting room that you can go and taste many different beers. The hope, of course, is that you buy that beer. So they have, in some ways, created a different market. The last part can be just as, in some ways, daunting, and that is sustaining a market. So you found a market, or you created a market. Now you need to sustain it. And how do you do that? The best way that you can do that is constant, continual contact with your customer to assess their changing needs. This means that you constantly reach out to your customer. You're much more proactive than in any other instance that you can think of. You want to find out what the customer wants even before the customer finds out what they need. That's the mark of a company that can stay around at least for the long haul. That's how you develop products, and that's how you sustain a market. You find a market, you create a market, and what you do, you sustain it. Each has certain characteristics. The more innovative and successful companies over the long term have recognized how to do that. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the day.